This is From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Each week, Janice shares her wisdom to enlighten, educate, and advance the culture in America today. Janice Pons is a mother, author, and free thinker, and your host for our podcast this evening. Now let's join your host, Janice Pons.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Janice Pons. I'm the host on this podcast, From Destruction to Dignity, Clinical Perspective, Spiritual Truths. Tonight, we're going to continue our amazing journey. We have our flag behind us that shows symbolically our nation. We're united together as one. Our presidential seal is to remind us to continue to pray for our president and the cabinet thereof. We're going to continue to lift up all of those working Americans, 265,900,000 working Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet. There's so many dynamics in our great nation. So we're going to dive into something that's very heated, that the Supreme Court is going to be very actively involved in, and because people are standing up and saying, I have a constitutional right about this. So tonight, we're going to examine something that's generated a lot of discussion in our nation. The Supreme Court and our children, and our clinical perspective is enough is enough. Enough is enough. We're going somewhere, and it's expecting us when we get there, and these parents are going somewhere, and they are committed to standing up for their children and their posterity, our posterity in our nation. The Supreme Court has examined and dissected something that's very important in our nation, whether religious parents can shield their children from the LGBTQ themed books in Montgomery County schools in Maryland, potentially setting a nationwide precedent on parental rights versus educational curriculum. Now, I want to remind you, these books didn't show up until Barack Hussein Obama became president, and Kevin Jennings was his safe school czar. And his network, GLEN, Gay Lesbian Education Network, they were the ones that put this curriculum out there. Where did it show up? And how did it show up? Parents started seeing it when the children were at home on the lock-ins, the lockdowns during COVID, that part. A lot unfolded, a lot. So these books started showing up in the libraries at school. So it's gone from the libraries to being in the classroom. So the Supreme Court agreed that they were going to hear the Mahmoud versus Taylor, a case determining if parents can opt their children out of LGBTQ curriculum based on religious beliefs. Montgomery County Public Schools initially allowed the opt-outs when introducing these books in 2022. Then they rescinded this option in March 2023. Who told them to rescind it? Who was in office then? Muslim, Catholic, and Ukrainian Orthodox families claim the policy violated their First Amendment religious freedom rights. The Federal Appeals Court ruled in May of 2024 that parents cannot opt out of the district's curriculum. See, I'm telling you again, it's these rogue judges, guys. It's rogue judges, and that's the obstacle, that's the battle that President Trump has been fighting, and these parents, they're fighting. They said, you can't opt out. That's what the federal judge said. Well, they said, we're taking it to the Supreme Court. You're violating our constitutional rights. I'm telling you, the battleground appears to be in the courts with these rogue judges. So the case is going to be heard this term. And we'll see the outcome, but it could have a nationwide, it could have nationwide implications for what? Parental rights. Now let's look at religious freedom versus school curriculum. The conflict in Montgomery County, Maryland, began in November 2022 when the public school district introduced new LGBTQ theme books as part of an inclusivity initiative for students, guess what grade? Kindergarten through 5th grade. Guys, God is my witness. I saw a video. I was made aware of a situation. I'm thinking it was Ohio. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. It was somewhere where they were perpetrating and pushing this agenda so hard. You had staff that was bogarting this stuff through. They had 8-year-old boys in a circle teaching them. I'll let you fill in the blank. Had them in a circle, showing them what to do with their hands. I'll just leave it there. In the public schools, parents are livid, and they're taking it to the Supreme Court. Initially, the district permitted parents to opt their children out of lessons featuring these materials. However, in March of 2023, school officials abruptly reversed course, announcing that they could no longer opt out or even, listen to this, they said, we don't even have to notify you before introducing the books in a kindergarten classroom. 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, in elementary school. We don't have to notify you. And these parents are like, our taxpayer dollars are paying for this education. And they're standing on their religious constitutional rights. This policy change sparked immediate backlash from families with religious objections to the content. Families from diverse faith backgrounds, including Muslim, Catholic, and Ukrainian Orthodox, this is an example of us coming together as one, as Americans, and they united in legal action against the school district. They argued that forcing children to participate in lessons that contradict their religious beliefs constitutes a violation of their First Amendment rights. Now, let's explore the issue of parents speaking out. Grace Morrison, one of the plaintiffs and a mother in the Montgomery County School District, expressed particular concern about her child who had special needs. Now, this is what she said. She said, listen, we felt as parents that we would present these things to our children like we always have. We present it to them. We talk about these issues with our children when they're ready to receive them. Not in kindergarten, not in 1st grade. Guys, these books are explicit. I've seen them. I've seen the videos. It's deep. Especially when the child has special needs, it's even more difficult for her to understand. Morrison explained. She said that her testimony highlights the personal impact of the policy on families with children who may process complex, they've got to process these complex social topics differently. They got special needs. They operate at a different developmental or cognitive level. I saw all of that when I was a teacher and school psychologist. These kids, they come to the table with challenges and deficits. She said, we felt as parents that we would present these things to our children when we were ready. She said, my child has special needs and it's even more difficult for her to understand. Now, there's a group called Beckett. They are a religious freedom legal organization representing the parents' claims that the books in question champion pride parades, gender transitioning. That's what's in the book. Everybody's supposed to champion pride parades. Everybody's supposed to be behind gender transition, kindergarten, and pronoun preferences for children. Beckett's unmatched, undefeated Supreme Court record and 92% win rate in the lower courts has made them the premier religious liberty law firm. Their outstanding communications efforts continue to make them the go-to source for leading journalists and academics. This kind of success is only possible because they have a very focused strategy and they have careful stewardship. The group asserts that Montgomery County's school board is an outlier nationally. It's an outlier, being one of the few districts to explicitly ban both parental notifications and opt-out options regarding sexuality and gender instruction for elementary school students. It's elementary school students that they're concerned about. Now, let's look at the legal arguments and precedent related to all of this. William Hahn, who is an attorney with Beckett, centered the Supreme Court argument on the free exercise clause, the free exercise clause of the First Amendment. Beckett attorney William Hahn has centered the entire argument before the Supreme Court on parents' First Amendment rights being violated by this school policy, saying that the free exercise clause protects the authority of parents even when children are in public schools to opt out of that instruction that would interfere with the child's religious development. The case raises fundamental questions about the balance between public education standards and religious liberty. The Supreme Court's decision will likely establish parameters for how schools nationwide navigate the increasingly contentious intersection of inclusive educational content and parental authority grounded in religious convictions. The ruling could impact curriculum policies in public school districts across the country, particularly regarding sensitive social topics that intersect with deeply held religious beliefs. You have to remember, Kevin Jennings said in 1999 in the book Queering Elementary Education that he had a goal to saturate the minds of kindergartners related to all things concerning homosexuality. Okay. 10 years later, he was appointed as the Safe School Czar by Barack Obama. Hence, look at what we're dealing with now. All of these dynamics definitely provokes thought, brings awareness, and prompts us to consider the need for intervention regarding minor dependent children in our great nation from so many clinical perspectives. But let us look briefly at protecting children, protecting them, yeah. Do we have a responsibility to protect them? Child protection encompasses measures taken to safeguard children from harm, including violence, abuse, neglect, and exploitation. It involves identifying and responding to potential risk, as well as providing support and resources to families. This also includes ensuring children have access. They need access to their basic needs like education, health care, and a safe environment to grow and develop. When we are considering our precious posterity in our nation, let's examine some key aspects related to child protection. Let's look at prevention. What would happen if we focus on identifying and addressing potential risks and vulnerabilities before they escalate, such as through early intervention programs and support for families? Okay, what about response? What would happen if we focus on reacting to reported or suspected cases of abuse, neglected, or exploitation, often involving law enforcement, child protective services, and other support services? What about what's in the best interest of the child? What would happen if we focused on prioritizing the child's well-being and making decisions that are in their best interest? not what a teacher wants or what the LGBTQ community wants. It's the best interest of the child. And gosh, guys, kindergarten, where I'm talking about explicit pictures. And the only way they get away with it not being the P word, P-O-R, that word, is that it's animated. What about support for families? What would happen if we focus on providing resources and support to families to help them create a safe and nurturing environment for their children? Are there any legal and policy frameworks that we need to consider? What would happen if we focused on utilizing laws, policies, and regulations to do what? Protect children and ensure that they have access to the services and support that they need. What about collaboration? What role does that play in any of this? What if we focused on working together across various sectors of society, including social welfare, education, health, justice, and security, to do what? Protect children. Do children have rights? What about that? Rights of the child. What if we focus on upholding the rights of a child as outlined in the United Nations even talks about that, protecting children from sexual exploitation, a crucial societal responsibility involving various measures across legal, social, and educational domains. Now, let's consider a legal framework and law enforcement. Laws against child sexual abuse. Every state in our country and the federal government have laws criminalizing various forms of child sexual abuse, including assault, exploitation, and the P word. We know they alert these videos. But anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about, the thing that people get addicted to. And some of it has much specificity as it relates to children. And I'm telling you, that whole thing, you just never can't get enough. And it goes to another level, it goes to another level, it goes to another level. All of a sudden, they're dealing with that realm. Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force Program. We have that in our country. This program assists state and local law enforcement agencies in developing effective responses to technology facilitated child sexual exploitation and internet crimes against children. That's why they got people that are working undercover. There are people out here that are rogue people that are not doing the right thing. There's something called mandatory reporting laws. Those laws require professionals who work with children, doctors, teachers, social workers, to report suspected cases. Now, we have federal laws that prohibits the production, the advertisement, the transportation, the distribution. Do you see where I'm going with this? The receipt of, the sale of these child sexual abuse material. We have prevention and awareness, educating children, parents, and the community about child sexual abuse, grooming tactics, online safety, healthy relationships. All that's crucial for prevention. We need open communication, don't you think? Encouraging open communication between parents and children. It creates a safe environment. Parents are supposed to be talking to their children about these things, disclosing concerns, recognizing abuse. There's online safety. Those are practices that need to be considered. There's community involvement, engaging community-based prevention efforts. There's intervention and support. There are child advocacy centers, providing safe and child-friendly environments for children who have experienced abuse, offering services such as forensic interviews, child protective services that investigates reports of things done to children, mental health support, providing mental health services to child victims and their children. I've dealt with children, I cut my teeth on mental health. many years ago with children that had been exposed to so many deep things that they had to be hospitalized. It was an eye-opener. They taught me a lot. Organizations and initiatives, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. That's a leading organization that's out there talking about child exploitation. Project Safe Childhood that was launched by the Department of Justice. You see, all these things are going on. Darkness to Light, that's an organization that empowers adults to prevent, recognize, and react responsibly to child sexual abuse through awareness, education, and the reduction of all this. All of these things, you hear all of these things that have been put in place? So, if now listen to me. This is where logic and deductive reasoning comes in. If we got all those things in place, all of these dynamics in place, why would the Democratic Party think that it's okay to push sexually explicit materials in our public schools to elementary school students? Think about it. Kindergarten. This is yet another example of just how out of control they became. Kamala Harris was pushing this whole agenda. This is what immigration and this. And women being us paying for the dismembering, burning, and liquefying of our tiny citizens. Guys, those were their major platform agendas. And our President Trump was focused on keeping us safe and the economy. Illegal immigration, keeping us safe, protecting us from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. And our economy. This is another example of just how out of control we've been, how adversely we the people were affected. What we've looked at tonight, what have we examined? Listen, the Supreme Court and protecting our children and saying enough is enough. Listen, I pray that the eyes of our understanding will continually be enlightened, that we will know the hope of God's calling for every area of our lives, particularly our children. You can't convince me that it's God's will for children to show up in kindergarten and get exposed to all this stuff. And these people are saying, listen, we have a constitutional right, First Amendment constitutional right, a religious constitutional right to opt out, that our children not be exposed to this. Listen, all of that's a part, listen to what we already had in place to protect them. And then we're going to say, well, just go on and go to school. And you all have to look at that. You can't opt out. It doesn't even make any sense. It defies basic logic and deductive reason. Guys, this stuff has been so out of control. And since 2020, Obama started it when he willfully ignored DOMA, Defense of Marriage Act, and then gay marriage was put in place. Listen, I love gay people. I love people. I love Americans. But we started on a pathway related to all things sexual that just grew and grew and grew and grew. And he brought that Safe Schools czar in, Kevin Jennings, who put the curriculum in school, and parents didn't even know it, and they found out. And now, in 2025, finally, it's in the Supreme Court. Glory to God. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see where this goes. All I know is that when children have, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to close this way. When children are being accosted and things are happening to them and they're being abused and is of a sexual nature, it happens in their homes, it happens in school, when it's of a sexual nature, wherever it's at, school, church, wherever it's happening. Everybody's got a story. I had mine. Many of millions of you have yours. When you have been traumatized in that way, and then you show up at school and see these things, do you think you get triggered? Is that a safe place to be? School's supposed to be safe, guys. It's asinine. I know what I'm talking about. They should not show up to school and have to look at these images and get triggered and looking at it no, not in elementary school, not in kindergarten. Listen, we're going somewhere. It's expecting us when we get there. We have to talk about these things. The Bible says we are to expose the unfruitful works of darkness. I say, millions say that this has been unfruitful works of darkness and we want no more with it. And we pray that the Supreme Court will give parents the right to protect their children as we form a more perfect union, which means us flowing together as one, as we go from, yes, together, destruction. You see how destructive this is? How destructive this is, man? From destruction to dignity. Do you see how this gives dignity to children? Give dignity to parents? Honoring their constitutional right as we go from destruction to dignity, clinical perspective, all these things I'm talking about, these systems that have been put in place, these are strategies, skills, and tools, protection to protect our blessed children. Bless the children, God. Please bless them. Protect their families. God, let us use wisdom in this nation. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. That was our clinical perspective as we go from destruction to dignity. Clinical perspectives, spiritual truths. Listen, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining in. God bless America. God bless these precious children. God bless our Supreme Court. God bless the President of this constitutional republic of the United States of America. We need help. It's a lot of mess going on, but things are turning around. Listen, I will see you next week. Let's keep coming back. God bless you. I appreciate you. See you next time. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Janice's mission is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention when needed. As a reminder, this show is not therapy, but for educational purposes only. For more information, check out JanicePons.com or follow her on social media.
We are one power, strength is ours, liberty, been set free, education, affirmation, dedication.